Hello and welcome to another episode of Tales from a Professional Nerd. My name is Bryan Steele. I will be your nerd today and every other day that you watch one of my silly little shows. I'm going to turn down my ring light here. It's crazy. it's very mighty. Alright. It's making me look very pasty. Very pasty. So hello. How is everybody doing today? I hope you guys are doing great here on this fine December day filled with rain, 60-degree weather, and tornadoes. Climate change is a hoax, because of all that happening out there. Come on, people. All right, so today is a very special episode. Today is where I talk about what the holidays means to me. We'll get to that in a minute. We'll start with Weekend Bryan. Weekend Bryan's super easy. I got to play in both the Waking Realms game, the homebrew that I play the cat dancing monk, and got to play in the Curse of Strahd game, where I play a chaos paladin. Both games were fantastic. Curse of Strahd, we finish off this giant den full of werewolves, which always feels good. And right now, because we just recently went through a couple of sessions where one of our characters is cursed, is a werewolf, and it doesn't want to get rid of the curse because of all of the neat powers and all that stuff. But we had a couple of really good sessions, deep character building stuff that honestly made this encounter with these bloodthirsty monsters that have children in cages and things like that, it made that encounter all the more kind of bittersweet heroic. For all of us that have been taking the stance that no, werewolves are monsters, you should want to not be one. We were able to kind of sit on our high horse. So that was nice from a moral paladin standpoint. But also it was a tough fight. It's always good when you are challenged, but you don't feel like you're overwhelmed. Where you're not like, oh god, we are definitely going to die. I would much rather be in a situation where it's like, oh man, we might going to die. We might going to die. I'm going to grab her that. Alright, so the Waking Realms game, we had a big plot moment, and a really cool fight, but the plot moment, so we're in this city that's been condemned by monsters, and a meteor, or the folklore is that a meteor struck this city, and it's a meteor filled with magic, and it's very Mordheim-esque in the fact that there's mutants and constructs and things just running around rampant in the city, and every once in a while the walls that were built up around this city get blasted out and outspill the monsters, and they got to push the monsters back and then refix the wall. And, well, they sent us in as, agents of justice to go and make sure that, basically investigate, make sure that this isn't some kind of villainous evil plot. This is just sort of a kind of a circle of messed up life kind of thing. And one of the places that we had to investigate was the crater, the place where the meteor supposedly fell. And the closer we get to it, magic starts acting weird. Time starts acting weird. The DM's really playing up this weirdness from the heavens fell down. And we get to the crater to the point where we can see that there's this big purple crystal it's at the epicenter of this crater. Obviously, that's the meteor or whatnot, but it has this golden light coming out of it. And where we were standing, we could feel the heat and the radiant damage coming off of it. And the DM was like, well, it's about 200 feet, so it's you guys will have to take a round or two to get down there, taking damage the whole time. And being a monk and being a tabaxi, I'm like, nope, I'm going to kick it into high gear and I'm going to run down there in one round. And that's exactly what I do. I flash it down there and I get down to this crystal, and inside the crystal, there's a big crack in it, very dark crystalish, except it's as if this thing is kind of hollow. And inside, there is this like 6 foot long golden rune inscribed arrow, like an arrow shot from a giant bow that's stuck in the ground, and that's where this light is coming off of. And I stood there for a second. I was like, well, I could run away, or my whole character's concept is that he's trying to make a name for himself. He's trying to be the big damn hero. And so I'm like, you know what? I'll give it a go. I'll see what I can do. I've got all my hit points right now. If it starts getting really bad, I can run away. So I dig my claws in, and I critically succeed on getting this thing open. So crystal shatters, light goes everywhere. I get blasted on my butt, take like 50 points of damage. We free this golden arrow, and it's a really cool moment. It's like we one of our guys reads the inscription on the arrow and refers back to folklore in the area. He bards it out basically, and figures out that this, in theory, for like the story of the Waking Realms, the story of our DM's homebrew, this is the arrow that broke the moon. That basically that gods, when they were fighting each other or fighting against demons or fighting against the darkness, one of the gods shot an arrow of pure light and goodness, and it went off mark, and it shattered the moon. And that's what rained down all this like moonstone all over the world. And it's a really cool story, but this is it. This is in theory, this is the implement that broke that world's heavenly body. So it was really cool. And we decided that we're like, the mission is over. This is now more important. So we dig this thing up, and it weighs like 500 pounds. It is not light. 750 pounds. It's a 6 foot long arrow of pure heavenly gold. And so we're like, all right, well, we'll be able to get it out of the city, but we'll probably have to almost like, multiple people run along with it, because none of us are really strength builds. There's not really a single person that can go, I'll shoulder the whole thing and it's fine. Sorry about the hiccups. But so we're on our way, and we start hearing a weird noise. So we, obviously we don't want monsters to get a hold of this. We don't want anything evil or anything to get a hold of this arrow. So we go ahead and we're like, well, we'll get close enough to see what it is and see if we can avoid it, or if we've got to take care of it real fast. And it ends up being a couple of gibbering mouthers, which it's been a long time since I've seen a gibbering mouther in a D&D game. There's so many creatures out there, so it was really kind of cool to see, to fight one of these old school things. And then in round 2 of the combat, while we're like running over to deal with these gibbering mouthers, something appears above one of the roofs, and it's a legitimate beholder. And I know that doesn't sound like much, yeah, it's a scary critter, but like, I haven't fought a beholder. I haven't been in a combat with a beholder in D&D 10 years, 15 years. That's one of those classic D&D monsters that makes you just go, oh, I love the feel of this. The ray beam shooting out, marking where the cone of anti-magic's going to be. Oh, such a good fight. It was such a good fight. Our Iron Man style artificer gnome almost got turned to stone. I got to use freedom of mind to free myself from being frightened. I mean, it's just a very cool combat. And when that was over, we were so exhausted. We were like, okay, we'll pick this up next time. We're not going to get to play for another couple weeks because of Christmas and things like that. But it was a good session. It was a solid session, and it was a very fun combat. Again, combats that challenge you, but don't necessarily just immediately go, oh, you're rolled, you're dead. Being just slaughtered by the DM because he can throw us whatever he wants at you, it's not that fun. Being challenged by the DM and then letting the dice do the talking, that's awesome. And that's exactly what happened here. So that's my role playing stuff. Didn't really play any board games. Didn't get any painting done this week. I feel bad. I've got a commission over there that's needing some love, but I have been so focused work wise on this Transformers book. I'm trying to get it out the door because I have got a very very cool Power Rangers book immediately after. That I'm trying to get this book done. Now that doesn't mean that I'm cutting corners or anything. This is still a really cool adventure arc. I'm still following all my same outline posts and all the stuff that I had written for it. I'm still following by the numbers. It just means that I'm not doing as many extracurricular things that I normally do. I sat in on the discussion panel for the next big wave, next handful of months of Conquest: Last Argument of Kings, which is a very fun game, in which currently I play the Dwagum, the dwarves, and they have not really seen a lot of love lately. So that it was nice to see in the panel that they're thinking about us. We're getting one of our little unit add-ons. We're getting one of those, but we're finally getting our big dinosaur. So it's just nice stuff to know that there's new things coming around the corner. Got to see some concept sketches for some new things that I don't know. There are cooler units that they could be doing, but I know they wanted to make sure that they touch base on some of the mainstays. So I get it. Having the mainstays around is a good idea. So I can't fault them for that. But during that conversation, they also showed a couple previews of some new factions that are coming out. One of which is the city states, the free states. It reminds me. It's a very like Greek and Roman feel, like Spadoms and Gladius, crested helmets. But also one of the things that they showed was this big burly minotaur. And I'm sold on a good monster. You give me a human force that allies up with good monsters. I'm sold. So I have yet to see a little more about them other than just a couple of sketches and a couple of models. But I'll be interested to see how they play. Well, during that panel, I kept piping in on the chat room that just dropping little industry hints, little things here and there, like I do. And one of the things that popped up when they started talking about the city states, I was like, well, if you need help, I'm in. And then a few minutes later, they were talking about how Parabellum is still very new to this whole miniature game industry and revolutionizing and upscaling and all that. And they said, that they're really trying to, make things work and figure things out. And I posted in the chat, I was like, I used to run a miniatures game for Cool Mini or Not for like 6 years. If you need any help, give me a shout. I'd love to give you a hand. Whether it's writing rules or helping you figure out some logistics. Whatever the case may be. And one of the company owners called me out in the video and was like, "Bryan, we'll be in touch." And I was a little shocked that I got called out for it, but it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool that I might be able to dip at least my pinky in the Conquest pie next here, hopefully in the next year. Obviously, if I'm looking to try and trying to pick up the city states as a second faction, I'll probably want to try and lean in on that for obvious reasons. As a gamer and a game designer, it's always nice to build an army to feel the way you want it to feel. You know how it is. That's my work stuff. That's my game stuff. Family stuff is doing great. We've got one of our family Christmases upcoming this weekend. Get to see my parents and get to experience something awesome with my stepdad. My stepdad's he's always really hard to buy for when it comes to Christmas presents and stuff, because he's a gentleman that's been on his on his own volition for such a long time. he gets what he wants. He gets the stuff. If it needs something he needs, he goes and gets it. If it's something he needs for, he collects old like full size tractors and farm equipment because he's a farmer from way back. So like if there's a piece that he wants, he gets it. If it's a piece that he needs for the workshop, he gets it. I can always get like kitschy things and stuff like that. So this year I decided that I was going to get him something. He has always been kind of a outdoorsman. He's always been adventurous. And I decided this year to go ahead and get him the people at the Good Mythical Kitchen, shout out. Amazing YouTube channel, by the way. Hired a bunch of cool scientists to create the flavors of illegal food items and put them in potato chips. And while I am aware that these chips will ruin my diet for the day, I am very much looking forward to. Originally, I was just going to buy this set of illegal chips specifically for one flavor because I'm a sushi fan. If you don't know this, I'm a big sushi fan, and I'll try anything once. Fugu, which is blowfish, is illegal to just have. You have to have special cooks prepare it. You have to have special insurance properties. There's waivers that you sign, things like that in sushi joints to have that, and it's ridiculously expensive, prohibitively expensive, because it's poisonous, and if it's not prepared properly, it can kill you. So even when it's prepared properly, you still get a little bit of the tetrodotoxin in the meat, and it supposedly creates like a tingling sensation in your mouth and neck, and it's a very specific, extremely hedonistic approach to food, and I want to try it. Someday in my life, I will have real fugu. I've got to find a way to do it. But one of the chip flavors are fugu. And I've seen people try them online, and apparently it does the tingle thing. Obviously they're not poisonous in no way. That they're recreating the effect with other chemicals and things. But I have to, and so I looked into this, and it's got some other flavors that are really just they're gross in my opinion, but it's part of this adventure in illegal foods that you will not be able to just go out and buy. And so I bought my stepdad this flavor adventure, this package of 4 different types of chips that I want him to experience them. I want him to experience life in every way. And I told him that I let my mom know that I will go with him on this experience. So I aside from stealing at least one fugu chip, I will try them with him. I'm hoping that everybody in the family, multiple people will want to try them, even the gross ones, just so you can say that you know what that tastes like. These things that we can't get in the United States because our food codes are weird. So that's pretty cool. I'm excited about that. And it's just nice to see family and stuff. In this kind of COVID situation, the last year and a half, we haven't really done a lot of traveling to go see people. For obvious reasons. And so I'm really excited. We get to see everybody, including my nieces and nephew. It'll be the first time that most of my side of the family is in the same place in quite a while. So that's exciting. I finally, as of this morning, I rounded that 45-pound lost mark as far as the diet goes. So that's very encouraging. Thanksgiving stalled me out. I didn't fall off the wagon as far as food types go. I didn't be it's the holidays, time to roll. But it did definitely stall me out, and I didn't go back to the low carb stuff or hardcore until very recently to get back on track. And as of this morning, I rounded that 45-pound mark. So I'm happy. There's still more room to go. Still definitely, got too much of me to move around. But I'm feeling better. I definitely have seen a difference in my face. When I was going back and doing some editing of some videos, I looked at some old footage, and you do a side by side of some of my older videos, and it's like, all right, you were a junkin' boy. Still am, but less so. You get a drink? Um, yeah, so that's pretty much it. As far as like the week in Bryan goes, let's talk about my sponsors. Um, we have sovereignty.com, which is an amazing tabletop board game digital emulator for your computer. You go to their website, you put up, set up an account, and you can play the game, basically the game of the day, that sort of thing. But if you use the Tales from a Professional Nerd promo code TFAPPIN, not only do you get access to everything, but for 60 days you have complete platinum access for free. It's already an inexpensive service, but for at least the first 60 days, you get to play anything you want, whenever you want, with whoever you want, completely for free, because you listen to us and you like me. Let's see, what else? Turbo Dork, my hobby sponsor. I love them so much. They are, they just recently posted a really, really cool picture. I'm trying to get them to give me some actual video footage to show you guys of basically one of their paints, one of their color shifting paints pouring into the mixer. And it's so cool. I mean, it's the kind of thing that I could see someone putting as like a background on their phone or their computer. It's just a very, very cool image. I am also trying to work with them to possibly get something special for the channel. We'll see. I would love a professional nerd paint. That'd be great. To FAPPIN code or whatever. But I would love to get a paint named after the channel. Maybe, oh my God, have it be like some kind of like gray or blue-gray metallic, and have it be Bryan Steele. Steel spelled like the metal. I'm telling you, if you're in and you want, email Turbo Dork and be like, you guys need to do this. I don't know, they won't do that. Nobody's gonna buy that. Maybe you guys will. I don't know. And then my apparel sponsor, the people who supply me with such great shirts, such as this Never Enough DACA t-shirt. DACA being the Orcish word for guns. I love them. I love the Armor Class 10 guys because they do a great job of jumping in on the humor aspects of a lot of things without being crass, without having t-shirts that you don't want to wear in public. I have seen many people that you wear a shirt and go, I get it, that's your statement. Meh. But these are all like nerd and nerd adjacent shirts, hoodies. I'm not sure if they do mugs or anything like that, but I know they do. They definitely do shirts and hoodies. Totally worth it, especially if you use my TFAPPIN TFAPN discount code. You get 10% off. But you can get fine shirts such as Never Enough DACA and other wonderful, wonderful geek and geek adjacent things. I do know that the owners are working toward getting some licensed merch with some companies to try and be able to basically flag wave for specific game lines. When I know more about that, I'll let you know, and I'll probably end up wearing some of it here on the show. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. That's the week in Bryan. I know, it's crazy. It's so much work. I don't have a whole lot of extra stuff going on. Aside from last week, we finally finished the refinance on my house. All the paperwork is signed. Everything is done. The mortgage was the title companies are paid for, everything's taken care of. It was 6 months of battling with banks and title companies and creditors and all this kinds of stuff, but we got it through, we got it done finally. Yeah. But that is a huge stress off my shoulders. Not only does it take care of, it's doing all kinds of cool adult things like lowering my interest rate and things like that, but it also wiped out a little bit of my debt that was hanging on to me from the rough years. Just I mean, is it smooth sailing and rainbows and unicorns forever? No, of course not. But I feel good right now. It's nice. It's being in a nice position, especially going into the holidays. That definitely helps. Going into the holidays without having this giant weight on my shoulders of God, is it gonna get done? Am I gonna get this? Are we gonna close before this time? It's done. It's done deal. I can move on. Yay! But yeah, so speaking of the holidays, that's what I was talking about this whole episode is about. I mean, it's going to be a relatively short episode because I've got a lot to do today. I got a ton to get done in a short amount of time. But I did want to just basically take a minute and look at my elf on the shelf in the eyes deeply. Not very elfy, is he? Just got a silly hat, very stiff. I love this little guy. So in our house, his name is Buddy, after the elf from Elf, played by Will Ferrell. One of the best Christmas movies of all time. Although everybody knows the best Christmas movie is Gremlins, the original Gremlins. But yeah, so Christmas, I'm going to pontificate a little bit. I'm just going to kind of run off the mouth. This episode, if you were looking for anything super deep about game industry stuff, or super deep about the design process, or if you were looking at like some kind of he's going to talk about creating cool holidays for your role-playing worlds, nope. I am just going to kind of run off in the mouth for a few minutes about what the holiday season means to me. I have always, I was raised in a Catholic household, but at the age of 15, I learned a little too much about the church and how it was treating my mother as a divorced woman, and I couldn't stand by that, and so I walked away from the church. Did my own research and kind of realized that religion was not for me. I am now a pretty staunch atheist. I'm not like a violent one, like where someone says bless you and I go, oh, don't you dare, nothing like that. Someone says Merry Christmas to me, I say Merry Christmas back. Christmas is a great holiday, whether you're celebrating the pagan version, Christ's birthday, whatever. I don't care. It's a good time. And because of my kind of anti-spiritual stance or mental position, the holidays always falls into a really kind of a weird situation for me. For a long time, I would still go to church on Christmas just to kind of placate my mother. But eventually I was like, you know what, why would I do that? It not only is it disingenuous, but it is rude to the people around me who are, that they're looking at this as their moral center or whatever they're getting out of it, and I'm absolutely just there because a woman who I love and respect would like me there, and the whole time I'm not even around mentally. So Christmas when I was a kid, obviously was a little different. I remember my favorite Christmas memory, hands down, Christmas magic. I might cry this episode, by the way. If you if you want to view me as a big buff burly dude that doesn't cry, this might not be the episode for it. Um, I have always wanted to be in the Christmas spirit. I wanted to be that, you know, to that kind of center of familial joy, the where the magic comes from, where the Santa magic revolves around. I always wanted to be that guy. Um, when I was younger, when I was a younger man and I knew I wanted kids, I wanted to be a dad, but I didn't necessarily, you know, I wasn't married yet or anything, but I knew I wanted to be a dad. Um, one of the reasons was I wanted to be the patriarch responsible for bringing all that Christmas magic to my kids. And a lot of it stems from the while I was growing up, we would almost always my house was one lot, and then right next to us, through a tiny little woods of like 50 trees, um, was my grandmother's house, my grandma and grandpa's house, and we would when we wake up at our house, pretty much no matter how early of the morning, my grandpa raised rabbits and chickens and ducks once because they're horrible, but rabbits and chickens pretty constantly. And so he was up crazy early in the morning every morning, taking care of, you know, getting eggs and taking care of if, you know, a fence needs, you know, remended or whatever. So whenever time we would wake up, we would end up heading over to um, heading over to Grandma and Grandpa's for like coffee and breakfast and whatnot. My grandfather was a pretty good cook, so he would always make like French toast and things like that. So we had cereal and stuff at our house, but like that was only on days where we didn't go to Grandma and Grandpa's to eat. And so we would go there. We, you know, later in life we'd have coffee, but we would go there, and Christmas morning was almost no different. Uh, we would always on Christmas Eve do all of our presents, like family presents and stuff, over at Grandma and Grandpa's house. So we would bring our presents over there, and everybody would separate the presents, and then we would, you know, open everything up, and it would be a great day. Everything's wonderful, and I'm not crying yet. I'm just itching. Um, and we would have we'd have a huge Christmas dinner. Um, and then when everything was done and unwrapped, and you know the night is over, and when us kids are tired and whatnot, we would then eventually head back over to our house to just basically get home, put our presents in a corner, and go to sleep, so we could wake up the next morning. And one particular Christmas, I remember, again, this is like my it defines a great deal of me, is one Christmas, I was probably maybe 6 or 7 years old, and so a long time ago, and we us kids decided that night we were actually going to spend the night at Grandma and Grandpa's because it was really late, and rather than going back across the way in the freezing cold in the middle of the night, we were like, no, we're just going to sleep at Grandma and Grandpa's. And so we slept at Grandma and Grandpa's house, and the next morning, you know, we got up early, and it was, let's run over back home and see what Santa put under the tree. And my mom and my grandpa and everybody were like, let's have breakfast. We'll be over there in a minute. You're not even dressed yet. Let's have breakfast. Let's get moving, and then we'll go. And so we did, and I remember, as it is as clear a memory as something that happened yesterday, if not clearer. is us walking in the front door, and the front door of my mother's house would go directly into it. There's a little tiny foyer, and then it opens up into the living room, and that's where always the Christmas tree and everything was. And we walked in the front door, and I had barely gotten my snow boots off when I noticed, sitting on the couch, open, completely set up with all of my toys, was the Castle Grayskull playset. And it was like, that was the one thing that I wanted that year. It was like, other kids were asking for bikes. I was like, no way, give me that Castle Grayskull, baby. And I had remembered the night before at Grandma's house when we were doing all the presents, I got a couple of G.I. Joes, a couple Transformers, a couple of He-Man. I got some toys, but I didn't get the Castle Grayskull. And I remember, obviously being a kid, you're disappointed when you don't get the big thing that you're eyeballing. But I was still super happy that I had all these cool stuff. And so I've got an armful of toys, and I come into the house, and there it is, Castle Grayskull, sitting on our couch, totally set up. It's like there's no box anywhere in sight. Totally set up. All of my guys set up on the parapets in the mouth. It was as if somebody was playing with my toys in the living room with this brand new Castle Grayskull, and it was facing the front door. And I barely got my snowsuit, my snow clothes off before I ran to that. I was just like, oh my god, everything else was secondary. Whatever was in the stocking, secondary. Anything else that was under the tree, secondary. The fact that Santa had set up Castle Grayskull and played with my guys and got them ready for me to play with my guys, it set the tone for what I felt Christmas magic was for life. Forever. I have always wanted to be able to hopefully impart that feeling on other people. And I do believe that some of that, oh my gosh, here's something really cool that I wasn't expecting, is why I got into the imagination that I did, why I love creating the stories that I do, why I love being a part of gaming and game industry stuff, because that means that there are people out there that hopefully when they open that first book, when they open that blister pack, when they sit down and play the game for the first time, that they are getting that rush of, this is something awesome and new for me that I wanted to do, that I got at that time. That same kind of, that sort of imagination magic. That's what I've always wanted. That's always what I've wanted to seed in my kids. It is what I want to set up for them. I have never once have I ever thought about, it's just a holiday. No way, it's more than that. And yeah, I know some people are all like, yeah, it's Christ's birth, whatever. But that's not for me, it's the magic of being a kid. It's the imagination, it's the magic behind make-believe. It's the magic behind role-playing. It's the magic behind getting into the lore of a miniatures game. And when you're playing that miniatures game, you're really kind of having that thought in your head of, man, I can't believe this is happening. Where it's not just a tactical exercise. You're actually enjoying what's happening. You're enjoying the game. You're enjoying, feeling. We all know that gamer that makes the little noises when you run your guys. That's the magic, all kind of squished and condensed, that I have at Christmas time. And it is very hard from time to time when Christmas does not go well, when things are rough, when things are bad, when there's depression, when there's COVID. And one of my darkest moments that one of a few, um, was the very first year after my divorce. Um, Obviously before my remarriage. My first year, the Christmas without my son, was easily one of the hardest times in my life. I hadn't gotten used to any time without him, at all. Living in the apartment when he wasn't there, I filled it with my friends. I ran as many game nights and role playing games and miniature games as I possibly could. I worked myself until I passed out, and then I got up and worked some more. Anything I could do to push off the feelings that I was getting about the fact that my son wasn't with me. And a lot of that came to a very fierce, very sharp point at Christmas time, when I realized that not only was I not living in a house, I was in an apartment. I couldn't really put up a big tree. When it hit me that, every other year, because my wife and I, our custody agreement, we had decided we were going to trade holidays, which is pretty normal. But it had struck me kind of all at once that since being a father, I was going to wake up on Christmas morning without my kid and not get to see that magic. Told you. Not get to see that magic in his eyes, not get to see what this holiday means to me reflected in him for the first time since he had been born. And I was not in a good place at the time. I must have mentioned something to somebody about having a couple of scotches and passing out. And my friends got together, and the ones that didn't have family nearby or didn't have wives and kids, they got together and they came to my house and they watched movies and played, I think we played either a board game or Blood Bowl or something. But they came to my apartment and spent Christmas with me, because I was in such a bad place without my kid. Now, luckily, that was years ago. That was years ago, and the next the next holiday season, he was there with me. Everything was wonderful, but I was able to send a message to my ex, who I'm still friends with. I was able to send a message to my ex, be like, I know how hard this is. I know where you're at. Please make sure you surround yourself with loving family and friends. And over time, it's been easier. It flips back and forth, and it part of it helps as the kids get older. They experience the magic different than they used to. So it doesn't have to necessarily be the magical moment of Christmas morning. We can have an awesome family day. Like I said, we're having a family Christmas family this weekend, or family Christmas this weekend. I know that it's a full week before Christmas, but still we have a really good time, get to enjoy ourselves, get to see some of that magic, but in a different way. And that's really kind of the kicker, because this year, this is one of the years where I do not have Connor for Christmas morning. We do not have my stepson because he goes to his father's house every other Christmas at the same week. We've got that lined up so we don't have the kids at the same time, which means Natalie and I will basically probably have a low-key Christmas, maybe go see a movie, have a nice dinner. I'll probably last year I made a couple of Cornish that were okay. I don't know what I'll do this year. We'll see. We'll figure it out. Play that by ear. But we are probably going to put up a small tree, like a little mini tree, instead of our full-blown monster tree, but also because we have a dog that is still new to the house and we don't want him to destroy the tree because he's still in training. But yeah, so it's the Christmas magic for me has evolved from that Castle Grayskull morning all the way up to now just really getting to enjoy and experience this with my kids, and hopefully put enough of the magic and wonder of the holidays into them that when they are parents themselves and I'm the old guy making coffee and French toast at 6 o'clock in the morning for their families, that I'll be able to see it again with my eventually with my grandkids. Like I said, I didn't cry, not really. I just got a little teary eyed. It really means a lot to me because honestly, for the same reason why gaming is so important to me, where you get to step away from real life for a few, enjoy whatever make-believe world you're in as an adult. I enjoyed it as a kid too, but now I get to enjoy it as a grown-up. You always hear the fables and you see the stories and read the tales and things about Ebenezer Scrooge and all these people who kind of lost their spirit and lost their way. I never want to be that guy. I never want to be the person who doesn't feel the magic, feel the imagination, and help instill that in others. And the holidays do that for me. I know the holidays are hard for a lot of people. I've been through those times myself. And I want to hope that I could be a little bit of brightness in that time for those people. Or something that I create, or in this case, they watch a silly video that I put up, or they go to my TikTok and hear me do dumb voices. Whatever. So, next week, we will still have a video next week because it is early enough before. Oh, my hair's crazy. It is early enough before Christmas that I should still have time to get it to get it in and get it taken care of. But until then, please be safe. Go, if you're not vaccinated, get vaccinated. Get a booster if you can. Wear a mask if you have to. Whatever you're gonna do, be safe, be healthy, enjoy this time that you've got with the people around you, and you know how it is. Play some games. See you next week.